Welcome to the Good Man Paradigm. This is episode 1 of a podcast that I have been dreaming into the world, into life for about 2 years now. And it is a conversation to challenge what as society we perceive or have set up for men to be a good man. What makes the measure of a good man? And is that something that we would really like to support our men to achieve? Or is the potential of that actually that we might be setting up men to perform to a mediocre level of people pleasing, being the yes man, saying that they will work harder, work longer, do things for others, self-sacrifice, put others first, while putting themselves last. And is that a reality that we really want to foster? Is that a society that we really want to be in? And what does that mean for the way that the men in our lives show up or can show up? So when I decided that I really wanted to broach this conversation, this subject, and this is after 4 years in business. So I am the founder and men's coach for Change Channel Coaching. And after 4 years in business and 726 clients now, what I've seen is a lot of men come to me and say, I just want to be a good person. I just want to be I want to be good. And I'm like, well, what the fuck does good mean? And is good a mediocre level of lost self-desire? And what would it look like if the men in our lives, the men in our worlds were passionate, driven, had something like insatiable that they had to create in the world? And do we know what a world looks like where men have that passion, that fuel, that fire, that wake up in the morning and this is what I have to do? And I think that there's a lot of, I've heard this from a lot of women, and I've certainly been in this state in my life previously, when there was a lot of unhealed things going on, which is like, I want to be his priority. I want to be his main priority. I want to be his focus. And I've heard so many people talk about it now that one person cannot occupy the creative potential output of another person. And it's not fair to ask that of someone either. I don't think it's fair to ask someone to focus the purpose and the direction of their life on you. But also, how much pressure does that put on you now? And so what I've seen a lot of, and what I've heard a lot of, and what I want to open up the conversation for, because this is just my perspective, obviously, and throughout the good man paradigm, and as this podcast goes along and gets legs and the conversation starts to open up, I want to bring men in to interview. I want to bring women in to interview. I want to start to flesh out this conversation around, what does it mean to be good? And is good the enemy of great? And have we lost the understanding and appreciation and idea or experience of what great men look like in everyday life? Not just the 1% that are out there outperforming everyone else, but what does it mean for the men in our lives, in our society, for everyday men to be focused, to be creative, to be inspired, to be intuitive, to be passionate, to be compassionate, to be regulated, to understand who they are, what they want, and what boundaries they need to put in place to help them get to that place. So if you're watching this and you have questions or you want to chat about it, we are currently live. This is the first episode of the Good Man Paradigm. This is going to be an ongoing weekly conversation, which I am so excited to bring to you. So please drop your questions in the chat. I would love to roll with that as we go. If you've got something that you want me to address or talk about, then please drop it in the chat. I'm happy to open this conversation up and just start having it. Like, what is our expectation of men in the world? What do we want from them? What do we want to experience of them? Because the guys in my programs working with Change Channel, so I run a signature courage method 4-phase program that runs over 12 months. That's a group program. I also run one-to-one programs. And what those guys are working on and working with is having the understanding of who they are, being able to confront the truth of how they got there, of the mistakes made to lead up to the position that they are in right now, and of all of the great things that they've learned along the way to build those skills also. It is being able to unpack some of that, to learn why we are, how we are, what our ancestry has imprinted on us, and what we need to navigate or manage or understand to be able to change the cycle, to do something different, to be someone else in the world so that we don't carry on the same cycles. We were meant to outgrow our parents. We were meant to break those cycles. We were meant to change it and do something different. But our society has created a structure that says, do not make me feel inferior by being more magnificent than me. Which often means that parents feel intimidated by their children when their children start to grow bigger, to do better, to do different things, to do things that they couldn't. And that's not a good or bad thing, right? Like, it's programming. We weren't taught. And we lost rites of passage. We lost those growth points where the baton was handed over from father to son or mother to daughter. We have lost so many of those innate, beautiful connections that say, I want you to go further, and I implore you to do the thing, to understand the things about our family that were broken or dysfunctional. But I think over generations, that process has suppressed men more than it has given them passion and power. And one of the other things that I see about being good, striving to be good rather than striving to be powerful, striving to be passionate. One of the things that I see so much of in that is good hampers that, because often the sense of power that we have in the world is jilted by all of the dysfunctional, powerful people in the world, by all of the harmful, powerful people in the world, by all of the corrupted, powerful people in the world, for which there are many, but there are many incredibly beautiful, powerful people in the world as well. And one of the things that I've been working with the guys on throughout the programs at the moment is that I think to truly encompass power, to step into it, to celebrate it, to bring it forth, you need love. And you need self-love, which requires self-understanding. It requires self-nurturing. It requires you to learn how to slow down and sit quietly with yourself to understand what your next steps are, rather than being influenced by the world around you and everyone else's demands on you that say you have to do all of these things before you can do what you want. And when power comes in to play, when passion is there, when love is there, I'm not talking about some wishy-washy love, light, and rainbow shit. I mean, being able to see the parts of yourself that you fucking despise and being able to understand what parts of those ulterior personalities or ulterior archetypes that we have, what parts of those have we rejected so heavily because we were told so many times when we were children to put it down, to make it less, to be more polite, to be more pleasant, to be more palatable, to tick all of the boxes, to measure yourself against a societal expectation of good and success. And I think that we lost masculinity in that. I think that we lost connection in society from that because women are challenging men for the leadership role of families. And I'm not saying that that's good or bad, but it does inherently challenge the nature of our ability to work together, and instead creates a competitive nature that means that we're fighting for who can be better, who can be more, who can be the better provider, who can bring more in. And women are competing with men. And when we're in competition, we can't be in unison. And so when partnerships at home are fighting like that, often what I see is men are just trying to keep everyone happy, to be good, to just fly under the radar, keep everything calm, make it all status quo. Fucking boring, in my opinion. And I see this at the moment. I have just wrote, so we are in the week of firsts right now. So I've just written my first, one of my first articles for LinkedIn. And I titled that like, why successful men are bored, feel like there's something missing. And I get on these conversations with men and I'm like, okay, so what are we doing? Like, where do you want to be? What is success for you? And they're like, well, I'm at the top of the sales team. I've got all the money. I'm doing all the things. And I'm like, so where's your drive? Like, where's your passion? Where's your inspiration? Where's your creativity? Oh no, but I'm making the money. It's like, well, if money's your measure of success, something is sorely missing. And why do we have so many men in our society that are sitting in this position of like, I did the things, I achieved. I've got one client who's the CEO of 2 construction companies. You know, he's got it all. It all looks great. All the boxes on the outside are ticked. And I hear this so much at the moment. I've ticked all of the boxes and something is missing. And I think that that's an internal problem. I think that's a disconnection because society didn't teach us. We weren't taught in schools how to understand our emotional system. We weren't taught how to navigate our emotions. We weren't taught how to bring them to the surface. And sure as shit, men were not, right? That was like, find the biggest jar you can find with the tightest lid and just keep shoving shit in there. And I couldn't tell you the number of like 40 to 50-year-olds at the moment that say to me, I used to be able to just get on with it. I used to be able to just keep going. And for some reason, I can't. And they are in burnout, severe burnout. And that comes from a life of ignoring yourself. And so one of the guys who's in my self-paced course at the moment who might be watching this, I'm not sure. And if you are, please jump in the chat and say hello. And anyone that is watching, please jump in the chat and say hi so I know that you're there and you can hear me. This is the first time we're running the Good Man Paradigm, so we will be doing this weekly. But yeah, I would love to know that it's working and that you can hear me and all of those sorts of things. Miles says, we always want men to be good or better without genuine guidance and accessible resources for them to do so. So important and so valid. Because that's one of the other things that I hear all of the time is like, something's blocking me, but I don't know where to start. And that is exactly, Miles, you are on the money. Like, we're telling men to be better. There's a huge societal conversation out there that's telling men to be better. Oh, hi guys. Yay. There's this huge societal conversation that's saying men need to show up better, men need to be better, men need to not be this, men need to be more stoic, men need to be more masculine. But there's not a lot of information available and accessible that says, how do you do that? And which way might you want to do that? And when I asked one of the clients that's in the self-paced course this week, and I said to him, like, what's one of the biggest things that you need to get over, or that you've had to get over, or that you've struggled with so much? And he said, it's being able to reflect on the mistakes and the fuck-ups that I've made in my life, and to be able to accept those things, and to be able to understand, like the pressures that applies. But I think that one of the huge components of that is also that when the jar gets full and all of that emotion overflows and you have no navigation system and it takes you completely offline, and this is applicable, right? Like women and men, same. But when that lid comes off that jar of emotional suppression and you are rudderless in your own fucking mayhem, there's so much self-blame. There's often so much guilt. And particularly for men, the most irritating thing about that, or one of the most irritating things about that, is it's a problem that they can't fix. And so then they berate themselves for thinking that they should be able to fix it, and they can't, and they don't know how. And so the hole of hopelessness just gets deeper. And the like, how do I get out of here? Like my whole world just melted down around me and I can't function. How do I even begin to get out? How do I even begin this process? Because it's so foreign. And I think that one of the things that is at risk in that state, you might not like this, is the male ego. Because that inability to fix your own problem after you have been the hardest worker, the highest quality, the best skilled laborer, the best tradesman, like the best at your craft, and you can't fix yourself. What a fucking conundrum. What a shitty place to be in, and how frustrating. I think that being in emotional exhaustion and emotional burnout is one of the most debilitating places that you can be in. And so many men have been trying to be good and trying to meet the measure of good for so long that they are so far away from themselves. And that emotional burnout comes from running yourself at red line for your whole life, trying to be the best in your whatever trade, whatever industry you're in, trying to outperform others and show that you've got it and prove that you're worthy, prove that you're better than other people, look for the promotion. But when we come back to it, it's like, do you love your job? Do you love what it is that you're committing so much of your energy to? Because that's the drain, that's the leak. When you drive all of your energy at something, but it's not replenishing in any way, and you're constantly trying to prove yourself outwardly, without the reinforcement coming back that I actually enjoy this, I actually want to be part of this. Do I value this? Do I know what my values are? In phase 3 of the courage method, one of the first sessions that we do is core values. What are the values that you stand by? What are the values that you want to embody in the world? And what is your level of leadership? And how are you holding yourself to that first and foremost? How do you take responsibility for yourself rather than externally blaming everything else that happens to you? We all do it. We've all been doing it. We've all had moments or experiences where we have said, why does this keep happening to me? I've been in that situation so many times in my life where it blew up around me. I was made redundant from a job up north, and I just sat on the kitchen floor and like, I don't know how many of you have been contractors and been made redundant overnight, but that is like crickets, radio silence. And the people that you've worked so hard for, the life that you've dedicated yourself, the company that you've been building and slaving away for just drop you. And you're left reeling, usually going, what the fuck was it all for? And how much time did I just waste? And does that then cement itself into your life as being a mistake that you then feel guilty for? But it was an experience that needed to be had. It was data that needed to be collected. It was an understanding of yourself that you needed to know about. One of my favorite books, one of my favorite sayings from the Prophet is that when the student is ready, the teacher shall arrive. Right? We will continue, and the other is the lessons shall be retaught until the student is ready. We will continue the loop. We will continue the patterns. I don't know how many men come into my program and say, oh, it's okay, I've got a new relationship now. And I go, great, but if we haven't changed the pattern, then we're just repeating the cycle. And then you get 6 months down the road and you go, the same fucking thing happened. It ended in the same way. I'm like, yeah, because we have to change the inputs to get a different output, to get a different experience out there in the world. But when you're running a program that you created when you were a child and then embedded and re-embedded over and over and over again through the course of your experience of your life, you're just replaying it over and over again until you change the information. But you went to school, you went to university, you went to trade school, you were an apprentice, whatever you did to get the qualification that you have to be the person that you are right now in the job that you are in right now, you had to learn. And I think that the older that we get, the more scared we are of learning because we don't want to look like we're stupid. We don't want to look like we don't know. And so we avoid it and we procrastinate because generally the thing that you don't know is where to start or how. So if you are following on my Instagram or on my Facebook at the moment, you'll see that I'm sharing a bunch of the guys that are in my program that are putting themselves out there at the moment because they've worked on themselves so much that we're ready to action out there in the world. So that's starting to practice what does their voice sound like in the world? What is it that they want to bring into the world? What is the work that they've been doing, the understanding that they have, and how do they want to share that and get the practice and the exposure for it? For one of them, he didn't sleep the night before he did that because it was the most terrifying thing he could ever think of. But we gave him a bit of a Spartan kick and over the edge he went and he did it. And now he's 8 days in and the voice has completely changed. And the thing that was so scary that it might kill him last week is now just another part of his day. Still challenging. It's still bringing him an exposure and an experience where he has to grow, but it's the action that we put out into the world because now he's in pursuit of something that he loves, something that he actually feels is important that he needs to figure out how to do in the world and bring into the world. rather than running a plastering company and feeling like his body's falling apart and slaving away in a way that doesn't call to his heart. And I see that that is one of the things that is impacting this good men, is that they are just trying to fly under the radar. They are just trying to maintain peace. They are just trying to keep people happy and make sure that they're providing and bringing all of the right things in. But then there's this huge lacking. And I think that so many men are waking up to that at the moment. And that's why it feels so fucking uncomfortable. It is. And working on yourself, learning about yourself, understanding who you are and how you got to be where you are, but also making peace with all of the mistakes that you made in life. I say to the guys every week, it's the hardest thing you ever have to do is confront yourself. You are your biggest obstacle and your single greatest opportunity in this life. But so many are not maximizing the opportunity because they don't know that it's there, for one, or how to access it, but because they're the obstacle. I've got another client that I spoke to just tonight, and he wants to do something. He wants to bring healing for men out into the world. And he's like, yeah, but I haven't quite worked out the framework yet. I'm like, you just have to run it, because the moment that you put people in there, it'll all change anyway. It's terrifying to be good. It's also terrifying to pursue your passion. Because when you are committed to being good, you have to shut down so many parts of yourself on such a regular basis. It's not pleasant. I don't think that good is very pleasant. It doesn't look comfortable. The outcome of it is not looking great out there in the world. And to pursue your passion, to go towards power, to go towards love, to go towards self-understanding, that's a terrifying journey, because you have to face yourself, which means that you have to stop running from all of the things that you feel guilty about and you feel shame for and you feel embarrassed about and you're worried about other people's judgments for, about not making enough money, about not being able to provide, about looking weak or vulnerable. But vulnerability is one of the core functioning principles of power, I think. Like, you can't be strong if you can't be soft. You can't go fast if you don't know how to go slow. And everyone's out there trying to go fast, pedal to the metal, be the best. And what you're getting is the burnout of that. And if we slow everything down, if we start to unpack some of the shit that's crammed or overflowing out of that jar, maybe from that place, we can get a much greater, much deeper understanding of what we actually want. Because I think that good gets in the way of desire. That's very performative. It's very measured. It has so many ceilings and so many buffers and so many edges that stop it from expanding out into, like, what could we do next? And rather stay contained. Aaron, you always speak so much truth that men tend to hide behind, which I think men seem to think of as weakness. Yeah. It's like one of the biggest threats is being seen as weak. But if you know your weaknesses, like if you really know your weaknesses and you know them inside and out, you know your triggers, you know your reactions, you know your trauma, you know your struggles, if you know all of that inside and out, nobody else can hurt you for it. Then it is powerful because you hold it. and you own it and you're in authority of your own life. It's when we don't know what that is. It's when we don't understand it that it acts like an exposed nerve. And anytime anyone ever touches that or triggers that, then you're wounded by it, which makes you feel weakened. So I think it's not like the true strength is to know your weaknesses. And the most beautiful thing about knowing your weaknesses is that you can know where you need support. You can know where you need more information, more understanding, where you need different skill sets, which is how you can then collaborate with other people to build something even stronger. Like when people start to work together, this is the fucking problem, is that we're all competing with each other. But when people start to work together and they come together and they celebrate each other's strengths, and rather than comparing each other's weaknesses, in that place, we can build. Because in that place, we can foster creativity. We can foster expansion. And you're right, Aaron, it is very powerful to truly know yourself. And that takes so much work. So many people want it to be quick. It's not quick. My one-to-one journey is 12 months because I know the amount of work that it takes to first dig in and start understanding, start to unpack some of the things in the jar and figure out how they impact things and get to know the stories so that you can start taking different actions and creating different cycles. But as the guys in my programs will tell you, you know, like they didn't realize that it was that much work. They didn't realize that their personalities, that their masks had so many schemes and so many ways of showing up inside and around the outside. But when we can be collaborative and we work together, that is strength. But that requires people to be able to say, this is what I'm really good at. This is what I really need your help with. This is what I don't know how to do. Someone asked me after a speaking event in Bangalore at the start of this year, and she said, what do you think a sign of really healthy masculinity is? And I think it's a man who can stand up and confidently say, I don't have the answer for that, and help facilitate a process to figure it out. I think it's a man who can say, I don't know everything. Let's work on it. Because I think that, you know, there's so many masks to keep society and our personalities separated so that no one ever sees who you are. But when you wear so many masks, you don't know who you are. And like you're just avoiding yourself. So I read, materialistic goals are fantastic, but end up creating, hi Laura, creating a treadmill. And the treadmill never leads to a deeper satisfaction. Being curious, listening to your internal voice and passion is hard, but worth it. Yeah, 100%. And I think like one of the things that I do, so all of the 4 phases of my program start with goal setting. And I say to the guys every single time, the point is not to reach your goal. The point is to have an anchor into the future that you're working towards rather than a past that you're trying to outrun. The idea is not necessarily to reach the goal. Great if we do. Awesome. But what if the goal setting was the thing that you needed to do to take 1 foot further forward so that then you could go, hang on a minute, that doesn't align for me. I actually don't want that. I think I want this. Great. Now let's move towards that. Like that's the process of curiosity of trying to figure it out. But for so many, particularly men, or the masculine trait is to achieve. The masculine trait is to generate, to action, to build, to do. And what we have so much of is rigidity, which is I've set the goal, therefore I have to achieve the goal, otherwise I've failed. And that then confirms my story that I'm a failure and that I'm useless and that I have to work harder to prove myself so that I'm worthy, so that I can have people around me. And then I'm just comparing myself to them all of the time. And now I'm fucked in my head. It's a very nasty cycle. It's a very repetitive cycle. And I think that so many people are at war with them, with their own selves in their heads. So many people are challenged by that. What happens, or what does it mean to be flexible? What does it mean to be able to pivot? And can we offer ourselves the opportunity to learn in a way that means that no longer aligns for me? Can we normalize saying, I've changed my mind? Can we acknowledge when we've gotten ourselves into something that actually doesn't feel good? And say, I've changed my mind. I'm no longer available for that. I don't have capacity for this. I don't have the resources. I don't have the energy. But I think so much is that society has an expectation of what good men should look like in the world. And I think that that's a huge mask to try and hold up, to try and wear, to try and satiate the fucking palate of the people around you. Like, I listened to a podcast recently. It was Chris Williamson on Modern Wisdom. And one of the things, I can't remember his exact wording, but one of the things that he was saying is that if you perform to what your audience expects of you, you will inevitably end up resenting your audience for building a cage that you don't fit in. And I think that that's a really good way of describing what we've created. Men are trying so hard to maintain this facade that they're good and palatable in the world, but it's not their version of life. It doesn't satisfy their palate. It doesn't tend to their creative capacity. It doesn't offer that to them. It doesn't encourage that. And so men end up becoming, and women as well. I just Change Channel is focused. I work exclusively with men. So my conversation is generally about men, but you can apply this to your own lives. It's men and women both do a lot of this. Right, but the cage becomes so permanent that there's no escape. And then resentment comes in and floods out at the people around them because it's their fault that they have to uphold this facade that doesn't fit them anymore. And when we change, when we grow, when we start putting boundaries in place, and the guys in the groups will know this, you start putting boundaries in place and the other people around you start getting uncomfortable. They start getting annoyed. They start getting... Welcome, Corey. It's great to have you here. They start getting flack from the people around them because people want you to stay small. People want you to stay palatable, but people want you to stay tolerable so that they don't have to change themselves. And when we work on changing ourselves, we magnify to those around us the thing that they can't do for themselves. We magnify the parts of them that are unhealed. And people don't like seeing that. They don't like being irritated in that way. And so they challenge. They want to pull you back to the version of yourself that they were able to get something from, that they were able to control, that they were able to influence. They want to pull you back down to that small version of yourself. Don't get too big for your britches. We have so much tall poppy syndrome in Australia. Don't outgrow me. Don't outshine me. Don't make me look bad. And when you trigger people in that way, it makes you uncomfortable and you feel like you've done something wrong and it feels awkward. Some of the guys have come back from setting boundaries and just been like, that felt fucking horrible. And I'm like, yeah, that's because you just reclaimed some of yourself by saying I'm no longer available for this. And you've never done that in your life. So you feel sick because you feel like it's wrong because you've constantly been saying yes to everyone else all of the time and you've never said no. It's one of the challenges that I set the guys. For a whole day, you get 3 yeses and you have to say no around 30 times. You're only allowed 3 yeses for the whole day. In over 50 men, I've not had one come back to me in that program and say, that was easy. Every single one of them has said that was the most difficult thing I've ever tried to do, and I couldn't do it. Think about it. How much do you say yes to keep the peace? How much do you say yes to make other people happy? How much do you say yes to so that you'll be accepted or welcomed? How many of those yeses are your no that you're too scared to say because you might get rejected? How honest are we with ourselves? How well do you know yourself? And how well does the world know you? Are you just trying to be good? Or are you trying to figure out what the fuck you came here for? What you came into this life to do, what you came to learn? Are you just meant to be here to be a worker bee until you retire and then you have permission to do what you like doing, but actually now you're 65 and what the fuck do I like because all I've done is work my whole life? I think that's why the age of men who die in Australia is so much younger than women. Because men work so hard for so much of their life. They work such long hours, physically demanding jobs until they're 65 and then they stop. And the body goes, what? And the mind goes, I have nothing to focus on right now. And so then the mind becomes inwardly destructive because now there's no outlet and there's no focus and there's no reason and there's no purpose. And it all comes crumbling down. But what if we could help men and encourage men and support men to go for the thing that makes them nervous, to try the thing that makes them feel scared, to experiment with the thing that they feel interested in or that lights them up? What would the world look like if men went for those things, if they were encouraged to go for those things? What would it feel like to be on the receiving end of men who were passionate and inspired and creative and determined? Who knew themselves, who were regulated, who could achieve at exceptionally high levels and be present with you in incredibly gentle and slow moments? What if men could keep you safe no matter whether you were a partner or a friend? Because their energy felt so comfortable. Because they knew themselves so well that they were actually there experiencing you in that moment. Because the thing that's in the way of that is the reflection that we get of ourselves from other people. And that's the judgment and the criticism and the self-doubt That's the devil on your shoulder. That's the little leprechaun that keeps saying, like, are you sure? What if you mess that up? What if you really offend someone? What if you upset someone? What if you make yourself look like a dick? What if it doesn't work? What if it fails? What if nobody shows up? What if? If you believe in it and you're determined enough and you are driven to bring that thing into the world because you believe in it, because it comes from inside you. So many people are looking for their purpose out there in the world. I don't really like the word purpose, and if you work with Change Channel, you'll very quickly understand that it's more of a mission, or it's a vision, or it's a pathway. I think that purpose is a destination. But so many people are looking for that out there in the world. And it's not out there. It's not somewhere else. It's not something that you have to go out and find. It's something that you have to slow down and understand the layers of trauma, of reaction, of experience, of life, to peel back the layers that you've been pushing down for your whole life and look at them and understand what they are and what they mean for you and how they show up and how they impact your life. Because those stories will keep coming with you. The more you grow, the more they'll upgrade. But if you don't know what they are, then you can't use them as a signal to take action or change things or slow down. You're just running on reaction, which is running away from them. So when we start to understand the layers of that, when we start to understand the pain of that, because there is pain, there is guilt, there is shame, there is all of those things embedded in that. But as you pull away those layers, the quiet voice, the intuitive voice, it gets louder. It comes to the surface more. It starts to bubble out of you and you start to get the sparkle of an idea, like maybe I could do this. Purpose doesn't exist outside of ourselves. Neither does passion. It's a inwardly, hey Travis, it's an inwardly cycling program, energy. Right? Like we can recalibrate that. We can regenerate that when we have something to focus on. And I think that the beautiful difference is that whilst women can create and build really beautiful things, the most incredible, or one of the single most incredible things that a woman's body is designed to do is to create life. And one of the most beautiful things about that is that men can create everything else. Men have a different level of energy, a different level of output, a different level of strength to what women do. And when we're trying to challenge them for that role, they aren't doing that because they feel like it's wrong, or there's not space for that, or it wouldn't be welcomed, or they would get rejected, or all of those things. But men, when they are passionate, have such a powerful output. They have such an incredible amount of energy and focus and drive and power that they can put into something. Like that can transform things. And while women want men to focus that energy on them, I think that that's one, I think it's a bit of a delusional state. But two, I think that negates the essence of what men can do. I think that when you're on the receiving end of men who are out there in the world driving for something, thriving for something, just I've got to figure this out. I've got to understand it. I've got to bring it into the world. I've got to help people with it, whatever that looks like. We get the most beautiful experience of men, because men who are passionate and inspired and creative are insatiable to be around. If you've seen them, if you've met men in the world like that feel passionate and driven and honestly integral to something, You want to talk to them. You want to experience them. You want to be around that energy because it's magnetic. And all men have the potential to step into that. But I think that society is in the way of that, in the way that it's been set up to this point, and that we are witnessing a huge polarity and shift in that right now, which, from what I hear and what I see a lot of, makes men feel displaced. Like the role that I was meant to do or I've been taught to do isn't right anymore or doesn't exist anymore, but I don't know how to do anything else. And you want me to be better, but I don't know how to achieve that. I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to learn that. And one of the things that I wrote about in my article on LinkedIn the other day, I would love if you'd check it out and comment on it and let me know how it goes. But one of the things I said in that is that one of the innate discomforts for men, or the things that they are avoiding a lot of, is feelings. And I think that you all could probably appreciate this example, which is a woman is upset. She's had a bad day. And the man comes in and he asks what's wrong, and she tells him. And he goes, oh, well, we could just do this and this and this and that would fix it. And she goes, what? Like, no, you're not listening to me. And he goes, yeah, we'll just fix the problem. And now all of a sudden she's angry at him because he's not listening, and he thinks he's fixed the problem because there was a problem, so he's trying to fix it. And now we're in an argument. And nobody knows really how you got there. And then we're at a stalemate because nobody's going to fix it because they started it. And innately, one of the problems that I see in that is that men don't really like feelings because they weren't taught how to understand them. They were taught how to work harder and push them down into the jar. I'm not saying all men, but the majority of men that I work with and the majority of men that I talk to, and how I see this out there in the world. And so when the woman is having, and women, we are emotional and expressive, right? We want to talk things out. We want to feel things. We want to understand it. So she wants to process the emotion and feel the feelings and get them out and just be held and heard. But that makes him feel uncomfortable because he doesn't know what to do with them, and he doesn't know how to hold them because they make him feel uncomfortable. So he tries to fix it so that the uncomfortable feelings will go away. That's generally what's at the bottom of a lot of that. And so what we are looking at is that if men understood their feelings, if men felt their feelings and knew what they were and knew what to do with them, they would be more powerful, they would be more passionate, they would be able to open and awaken a lot more of that, because rather than feeling uncomfortable and being made to feel uncomfortable by this thing that is overriding your body that you can't seem to control, you learn what that is and where it lives and where it belongs and what brings it out and what you need to do to look after yourself to keep it in check or to maintain a baseline across most of the time, right? We're not looking to not be triggered. We're not looking to not have problems. But what we are looking at is, what does it take to maintain my body, to maintain my system, to bring me back into a baseline so that I can make reasonable decisions, rather than operating from a hijacked state of mind, which is feelings at the forefront, feelings taking over, not knowing what to do with them. And women do it as well. I am not saying by any means that women have got this nailed. We don't. But again, as I said, Change Channel is focused on working with men. That's my target. That's what I would love to help create. I would love to help build. I would love to help shift the world of men so that they were powerful, they were passionate, they were inspired, they were emotionally stable and regulated. Because without that, the power gets corrupted. The direction gets jilted. The output gets hijacked. So what would it mean to have creativity in your life? To be able to slow down and give yourself opportunity to listen to yourself, to hear yourself, to navigate yourself. What would change in your life if you had an idea and the courage to pursue it, to try it, to tempt it in the world? Just need an Imogen uppercut, that's all. Love listening to you. Yeah, I think one of my one-to-one clients came and supported me at a trade fair exhibition a couple of weeks back, and they represented Change Channel, and I got them to get out there in the hallways and talk to people, and they were all nervous and they were all avoidant and they were all not quite sure how to do it. And I was like, there's a man coming, get over there and talk to him. And he said to me at the end of the day, this was one of the most beautiful pieces of feedback I think I've ever received, ever heard. But that guy at the end of the day said to me, I said, what was your biggest takeaway for today? You've spoken to a bunch of men. What was your biggest learning? And he said to me that the sword at my throat isn't real. And I thought, what a beautiful fucking gift. To realize that people aren't actually going to reject you. People aren't actually going to throw things at you, to abuse you, to criticize you. Mostly they will try and support you. And he likened it to being a Spartan kick. Me just being like, get out there, go and do it. You can think about it all you like. But until you start actioning these things, until you start challenging these things in the world, until you have that encouragement, that backing behind you that says, I believe in you. I fucking believe that you can do this. I can see what's in you. And I know that you can't quite see that just yet, but you are on the fucking road, mate. You are so close. You are building that awareness. You are getting out there. And I believe you. Keep going. And I honestly believe that one of the things that most men want from a partner, from a relationship, from the people around them is encouragement. Someone to say, yeah, that's challenging, you should go for it. But most people turn around and say, are you sure? You sure you want to do that? It's a bit risky, don't you think? What if it doesn't work? And that just cements that confirmation story that we're looking for that says, yeah, no, you're right, it would never work. But what if you went to your mate and you said, I'm thinking about doing this. And he was like, fuck yeah, bro, go for it. You would be like, oh, maybe I should. Because most of the time we're going to people to confirm our belief, which is to tell us our belief system that says it's going to fail. So if people say to you, oh, no, that's a bit risky, that confirms your story and you go, yeah, that was all the data I needed. That was all the confirmation I was looking for. But when people interrupt that story, that's what part of what my program is, right? Like, I'm so invested in encouraging these guys. I believe in them. I fucking love these guys. Like, I love what they're doing. I love who they're becoming. I love the way that they're showing up. I love the way that they're confronting themselves. I love the amount of courage that it fucking takes. And that one guy that I said posted for the first time ever on social media, and he stayed up awake because he couldn't sleep because it was so terrifying for him. He posted it. He dropped a message in our group chat immediately and said, I did it. Now I want to crawl under a rock. I was like, permission granted. Under the rock you go until tomorrow, and you got to post again. And he didn't look at his phone again. And then when he picked it up, there was about 20 comments of people just being like, fuck yeah, I'm so glad that you're saying this. Yes, this is great. I'm so proud of you. Get it? Like, and he just was blown away because in his head, the biggest fear was that people would ridicule him. People would tease him. People would judge him. People would criticize what he was doing. He would get shit for it. That was his biggest fear. He would be judged for it. And instead he was celebrated. And he's still being celebrated. I don't think I've ever seen anyone with so few followers get so many comments from so many different people on a regular basis. It's fucking incredible. And I'm watching that grow because that's his opportunity to step out to action all of the courage that he's been building and to put that out into the world. And I'm so fucking proud of him for it. Because that's what we need. Men say, I don't know, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. I would rather see you try that than try and be society's measure of good and bored and demoralized. I appreciate you guys so much for joining me. This is the first episode of the Good Man Paradigm. Tonight's episode was a 1 hour special. We are aiming to do them at around 15 to 30 minutes. As you probably realize by now, I could talk underwater about this because I feel so passionate about it. But but this is the beginning. So the plan is to bring some people in to get interviewed. I will be bringing some of my clients on board to have conversations about what they've confronted, about what being good was versus what they want to be doing now, to have conversations with women who have other thoughts and feelings about what men should be, maybe even feminism and things like that. I really just want to challenge the conversation. I really just want to bring it out into the world around, like, what is our expectation of men to be good in this world? And do we want them to be good, or do we want them to be passionate and powerful and driven? And what would be the most incredible experience for us to have of them? So we will be, every Thursday night from now on, we will be running the Good Man Paradigm. So we'll always be doing, or we'll mostly be doing them live. So if you want to join me, if you want to have a chat, if you want to share some comments, I would love to hear your feedback. We will be posting these as well on YouTube so that you can watch back over it if you choose. But yes, thank you so much for joining me for the very first episode of the Good Man Paradigm. My name is Imogen Hobbs. I am the founder and men's coach of Change Channel Coaching. And I would love, if you haven't subscribed already, if you could subscribe to Change Channel and hang on, I think I can do it. Wait, I did it. Please like and subscribe to Change Channel Coaching on YouTube, or follow us on Instagram at change.channel.coaching, so that we can keep this conversation going and build it up and get it out there in the world. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. And I will see you next Thursday night.